aware were you of the safe haven law before you read the script for this film?
I at that time in history, 2008, I was a young actor in New York. The financial collapse was happening, so we were worrying about the film and theater industries. Uh, I didn't have a kid, so there was just I had no awareness. So when I got the script, reading that and finding out it was true was really surprising to me. But you know, as we know, politicians tend to not be that bright, so I'm not surprised they would make a mistake like that.
No, I agree with you there. I found it was really fascinating concept, although tragic. So what attracted you to making this film, and to what extent do you think it was kind of informed by your experience as a father?
Yeah, I mean, I read the script. The script was fantastic. It left me shattered. Uh, so it was pretty clear that I wanted to be a part of it after I read it. I think also because it was unlike anything I had done before.
Mm.
It was an exciting kind of new opportunity, a new character to play. So I like that. And I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm was a new dad at the time when I got the script. My daughter is now 6. She was about 3 at the time. Um, I'm sure that informed it. I don't know how it couldn't have, but I didn't consciously think of that.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, you can't, when you are a parent and you see something like this, you can't help but have these images of, God, what if that happened to me?
Of course. And working with those young actors, with Molly Bell Wright playing Ella and Wyatt Solace playing Charlie, your relationship on screen feels really authentic and kind of lived in. The way you interact is very naturalistic. So, how did you go about forging that bond on and off set and getting that to translate to the screen so successfully?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a language or rhythm we had to discover because we all showed up. There was not really no rehearsal time. Uh, we did like a little kind of reading of a couple scenes, and at the end of the day, Wyatt said, "Is that it? We're done." I mean, like you thinking he was done? So no, we got about a month and a half of this to go, buddy.
Oh, bless him.
So we also knew that with such young kids, it was going to be hard for them to just say the lines, and I think Cole
Mm,
discovered that pretty much on the first day of filming. But to start planting the seeds of, it was really about trust. It's about these kids
mm,
being able to trust me. Um, so their parents were there, and we went to the Salt Lake City Aquarium for a day, and I spent the whole day with them, and you know, let them know that they can feel safe. They can,
mm,
do what they need to do. Also, the entire set was our cinematographer, Cole, a lot of the other key people there, producers. Everyone is our parents. So I think there was just a want to keep the kids protected and make them feel safe and make things feel fun. For me, that meant, it did kind of become this natural
mm,
docu style because we did have, like I said with Cole, we realized that we can't just say line, line, line. We kind of had to be like, well, this is what the scene is about. This is what we want to achieve in the scene, and then we would let the camera roll, and I'd start just kind of talking to them and whatever we got out, and then you'd sort of lead them with questions and ask them things, and then it would sort of develop into what the scene needed to be. But it was really improvised in a lot of ways, which gives it that authentic, natural feeling. Um, and just kind of playing with them and letting them just be kids, not making them feel like they have to act or perform in any
mm.
way, and throwing out expectations of what you want and allowing yourself to be surprised and delighted with what you get, which in fact I think is a lot of times better than what could even be imagined.
Yeah, so that unique, that improvisational quality really does translate to the way that you guys interact. And
Yeah.
I think I want to talk about as well filming on location. The kind of the setting in the film feels very distinct, and I found watching it, it's like omnipresent. You're always aware of the location. So what was it like, especially with the young actors filming on location, and I suppose the indie production context, which I imagine has its own challenges and opportunities?
I mean, yeah, the location is very much a omnipresent kind of character in it. It's the road trip, which is a very American idea of a story,
Mm,
and we were lucky enough to shoot in the places that it happens. We shot in our base was Salt Lake City, but we were all around Utah on those roads. And in our story, the trip takes place basically from Nevada to Omaha. So we were as deep out to the Nevada border shooting, and then we obviously went all the way to Omaha and we shot across Wyoming and we shot into Nebraska. And then, so you're seeing the sites that they would have seen along the trip, including the Salt Flats, which is, in Utah, which is predominantly featured in a sequence in the film,
mm,
the zoo, etc. Like it continues on. Um, there's something about that part of the world, that part of the country that I mean, that's where this thing happened, obviously, but it also lends itself to kind of the decaying idea of the American dream, which I think is very much a part of this story. It's set in 2008 as the financial systems are collapsing and people are out of work and losing their homes. Um, and you can't help but feel that on that, interstate corridor from Nevada to Omaha. Um, Yeah, so I mean we're lucky to do that. But also since you're shooting on the road as an indie film, it requires everyone to sort of like punch above their weight. Everyone was doing more than what their title was. The producers were doing things PAs would normally do and kind of vice versa. It was all hands on deck all the time. At times it was a bit guerrilla style, but because everyone was so motivated to do a great job even with a limited budget, it made for a fun experience. You are
mm.
on the road with the crew and these kids, and we're all in the same hotels, and you're having dinner together at night and swimming in the hotel pool and on the days off, and you can't help but bond over that. I mean, we stayed at this place in Wyoming. I couldn't even tell you the town, but it was like in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, and it was this kind of old B&B, the only place you could lodge in the city, and it's supposed to be haunted, and and
That's
the
fun.
family who ran it, yeah, the family who ran it would cook us meals at night when we were there. And I remember Molly being freaked out, little Molly, as well as a lot of the crew being freaked out that it was haunted. And but like when you're in that situation on an indie or any film, you can't help but bond. And I think that in a way, having all that time together on the road also built that relationship you see in the film, that the trust between us.
Yeah, no, that's really clear, and it makes it really, really wonderful the way the family interacts. And just speaking as well about kind of the concept of the road trip, this very American thing, and the film taking place in this specific historical time. To what extent do you think your character kind of emulates American masculinity specifically at that time to kind of get through the situation that he's in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think it still is that. I mean, most of the country, it still is
Mm,
that way. So you're strong, you're silent, you don't ask for help. My dad was from that, very much that way. His generation was more so. I mean, I think, coastally, you could say it's starting to break a little bit.
mm,
The liberal East Coast and West Coast, you start to have this new idea of what it means to be a man. It's roles that I've played in other films. Arthur is a great example of that from past lives, the new masculinity. But I think in most of the country, it's still these kinds of guys who are strong and silent and don't ask for help. And it's not just something that was 2008 or 1950. It's still very present. If anything, I would say maybe it's gotten more aggressive.
mm.
I think we can see that in the political tone now in a lot of these, especially white. men, white straight men in America who feel disenfranchised or entitled to something. So I think maybe the silence is starting to fade, but it's not fading in a good way. It might be fading in a loud, aggressive way.
Yes, yeah. That's really interesting, and especially how relevant it still is today. And kind of staying on that American context, even though a lot of the locations are really expansive, you feel like the skies go on forever, the roads go on forever. A lot of the family's experiences I found felt very insular and very confined at times. And it made me feel like it was kind of you guys against the world, and you're experiencing this and you're not getting a lot of help or acknowledgement from anywhere else. So that kind of individualistic part of American society, I feel like was really
Mhm.
wrong in the film. And to what extent do you think it's kind of commenting on those systems that aren't working?
I don't know if that was I don't think anyone was thinking that when they do it. I think since Cole is he lives in Salt Lake City. I think that's just kind of the American, especially out there, the existence. You have these wide open, you hit it on the head. It's very interesting you said that. And I hope other people who watch it will, see those things. That's really thoughtful and insightful and great, great observation. Um, but yeah, these people, in the rest of the country where my mom lives, she lives in Ohio. You have this wide expanse of land and this endless sky and almost more space than you do in most other, you know, populated countries. Um, but then you get in your car and you're isolated and you go in your house and you're isolated. And I think that loneliness and, it's only gotten worse as we're buried in social media and phones,
Mm,
is that we live in isolation and we're detached, and that keeps us from sharing our true experiences with other people. Um, so I don't know if that's I don't think that was intentional, but I think
mm.
since it's an American story, it can't help but hold those qualities.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's really interesting, and how it's kind of so relevant today still. And
Yeah.
even though this film, it's emotionally, it's very heavy, it's quite challenging, some of the themes, there's so much joy in the watching the kids interact, like on the salt flats or you taking them to the zoo. And it's clear that improvisational quality contributed to how authentic and natural it feels. So on that, what were the most fun scenes to film, and where you feel the kids were really getting to, like you say, be kids?
Yeah. I mean, that was also part because it is such heavy material, we wanted to keep it as light as we possibly could,
Mm,
not only in just the set, but also for the audience. We wanted to have a lot of some nice, fun moments where you get to see that these are people who care about each other. The zoo was really fun. Like we had free reign in that zoo, and that's great. Yeah, like it's fun. We were going around shooting, but you're spending the day at the zoo, so that was cool. The swimming pool stuff was fun,
oh yes.
that was cool. Uh, there was a lot, even just like sometimes we'd be driving down the road at night and then we would pull off and because we would have to kind of do these incidental scenes, so you just show time
Mm,
passage, but we wouldn't have a scene there, so we would just pull off and Wyatt would go take a pee on the side of the road, and we would joke around, and then he would dance on the car hood, and it was just totally nothing planned, but just fun
yeah.
and cute, and the sun is setting, and it's just silliness like that. So those surprising moments were cool too.
Yeah, the silliness, I think that was so valuable to making those scenes feel really, really real. Um, would it make you in the future, would you want to seek out more indie projects like this? Did you enjoy
Yeah, man.
that
If I
experience?
if I get more scripts like this, I would be happy. This is
Yeah, I suppose
it's a
so.
great character. This is like the stuff you want to play as an actor.
Mm,
So, yeah, I would be happy if I got more of these. That would be fantastic. Unfortunately, a lot of these things don't come across anymore because it's hard to get them made.
of course.
So, I encourage young writers to write things like these these kind of little stories because they're fun to do and they don't take a ton of money.
Yeah. I think a lot of young writers will be very pleased to hear you say that as well.
Yeah.
And also, how do you personally feel about the dad's choice? Is that something you had to wrestle with, or that you could understand more than wrestle with?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the right choice.
Mm,
Me as John, I get why he does it. And the way I had to rationalize it, I guess, in my head. And the rationalization that I came to and that I believe in, is I think that this is a guy who, obviously is pushed into a corner. He doesn't have a house. His wife is gone. He's got two kids he can't provide for. He's spiraling mentally. Um, there's no work on the horizon. And then this law comes into effect, so it's sort of like an out. It's sort of like he thinks a lifeline. So
mm,
I am of the camp that he thinks I'm going to take this now. I'm going to drop these kids off. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get my life together. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a house, and then I'm going to be able to just be like, okay, I'll take my kids back. And I think that's what people do a lot. They take act not realizing the full weight of the consequences. I don't think he realizes that once he lets them go, that they're now in the
mm,
system. And once you're in the system, bureaucracy takes over. And it's not like you can just be like, give me my kids back. It
mm.
becomes a whole process. So I think that's what I think he is thinking. Um, and it's not until the end where he realizes that it's not going to be that simple, and also that he requires a lot more help than he even realizes,
Mm.
that the full weight of everything starts to settle in.
Yeah, watching him realize all of that towards the end of the film is really, really tough. And it's amazing how much you say without saying a lot. Um, what do you think was going through his head on the way back and when he realizes all of this?
Oh, I don't know, I want to leave that to the audience.
That's
I can't say that.
absolutely fair
that
enough.
that's really, those moments are that's the whole point, is like for you
Mm,
to interpret it how. And I think that's the fun thing about film, or any art, is that you get to, it's like a mad lib. You get to fill in those blanks, and it says, I think it says something about who you are, how you fill those in. So, I'll be excited to hear how different people fill that gap in.
I think it is a film where people will it will kind of generate really diverse opinions,
Yeah,
hopefully, because I think leaving so much up to the audience, it's wonderful when a film believes in its audience this much. And I think it is a film
yeah.
that really believes in its audience. And like you say, you're letting them forge those opinions, which is a really valuable experience for anyone watching a film, really. So yeah, thank you. It was a really, really wonderful film, even though I think it broke me a bit.
Well, that's okay. I think it
Yeah,
should.